reason I have such a big weight because of what we have around here. Break off. Let's. Okay. So we still have some seed and fertilizer up at the store. That is not a very forgiving ramp. Is that the right side of the road? Yes. There's I'm not sure if it's the same mod. I know there's an automatic variable spray mod which will base the usage on the speed you're going. I don't know if that's the same mod that you're talking about or not. I haven't tried playing around with that either. I mean, I like trying out mods, but I do find that playing with too many what would it be? I suppose you could almost call it game rules mods. They can start conflicting with each other. I mean, I know there was a problem early on with oh, seriously? You've got to be kidding me. Okay. We have managed to hook the bag. That is awesome. Okay, let's try this again. No. Okay. I don't believe that happened. Okay. But the original realistic dirt or real dirt mod did not work well with this lifter and and sort of big bad mod, and so much so that if you had them in game when you added the realistic or the real dirt mod, they disappeared, and if you tried to buy them, they would never materialize. So I try and limit the game-changing mods to ones I know aren't messing with each other. And before I'm going to use a mod, I'm going to take time to test out that mod on my play farms and make sure it doesn't mess anything up. Now, I've heard Follow Me has a very bad time on this particular map. So I don't have Follow Me loaded, but not having Follow Me loaded is not a problem for me on this map right this minute, because I've only got one tractor. and one harvester, and it's very rare that I want the harvester to follow the tractor around, or even vice versa. But playtime over this last week has been very limited due to the fact we have no kitchen. So we have to make allowances for food and still get the kids to bed by 8 o'clock. There's also... what other issues are there? Now we're going to have our 3 former foster kids over this weekend, which means that again I'm not going to have much time to do anything this weekend, but we're kind of looking at the kitchen done towards the tail end of this week, which means next week is probably going to be a little bit more time to be able to review mods and the likes. Okay, what have we got on the back here? I can't tell. Let's get out. Whack ourselves in the face by... it's not working out as I intended. That's fertilizer. Okay. Well, we have fertilizer over in that far corner, so let's drop that over there. Oh, there we go. So that should mean that the other one is a bag of seed. Probably run the beacons while I'm driving down the road, although there's not much to use. This is the back road. So I took off the mod that changes the font colour of the info window at the top right. It makes the writing black during daylight hours and white during nighttime hours. The problem is that you kind of have to be looking at the sky, so it doesn't work well when you're inside view. When you're outside view, in order to see the black writing, I would have to sort of do that, because there's just not enough contrast between black writing and shaded trees. So while it's sometimes it is frustrating that you can't read, you know, what the time is or what the weather's going to be like during the daytime, because you're looking at the sky and the sky is a particularly bright shade of blue. In general, you can work around it. The white, you know, black during the daytime, white during nighttime. My usual camera angle is this, so black writing is going to get lost so much more frequently than white writing does. Okay, this is indeed a seed bag. And did we just manage to hitch that? Yep, we managed to hitch that back on the the hook. Let's extend, drop that to the lowest level, extend it out. There we go. Nope. Really? You don't want to pick that up now? Okay. Completely messing this up. Come on. I have to be facing the hook. Okay. There we go. That should work. Okay, that can be a little annoying. Yeah, in general, that's the only place I get the mods is from Giants. However, that just because it's been through Giants testing does not mean it's going to play nice with all of the other mods that you've downloaded from the Giants website. And I've encountered issues with some of the mods. This is actually the first playthrough that I've used this lizard hook lift thing and the big bags, so I never actually suffered from the real dirt conflicting with this particular mod. But they're both available on the Giants in-game hub. They just don't play well together. Okay, 1653 we've got. Well, we've got about 3 hours before we're going to be tired. Now, I do have quite a lot of mods loaded. However, for each farm, I generally only use my standard one. So I've got the clock at the top right. I've got the vehicle inspection mod on the top left, which tells me what the vehicles with engines on are currently doing. So if they have a helper, it tells me what the helper's doing. It tells me seed load and stuff like that, so I can see if a harvester that's currently running with a helper is going to need to be emptied soon. Up, which way's up? Oh. There we go. Okay. And it's probably the right one. But then most of the other stuff I'm using is equipment mods, and while I do have a lot of those loaded, I probably end up only using 2 or 3 in any one given playthrough. So that spreader is a mod. I typically use that on most of my small farms just so that it's easier to do lime spreading with it. But it's a good, yeah, I find it's good to be able to showcase different mods. Okay, that's the fertilizer bag. Take that over and put it with the me dragging it. And it also provides a little bit of variety with what we're doing. So, I mean, I could use standard pallets and front loader forks. Okay, that's fertilizer. This can go at the back. In fact, this is nearly empty. Well, otherwise what you end up with is everybody, you know, you're just using the in-game equipment all the time. Now this tractor is in-game equipment, so's the loading wagon and the tipper and the harvester. I must admit I get a little bit bored with that harvester because it's the only one that it's that one or the bison that crops up. But all of the other small harvesters are mods. So there is a new New Holland harvester. It's a tiny little bit larger than the one we have. And there's also that's also seeds. There is also a case. I think 1440 harvester, which just gives a little bit of variety. I think I used the case on my Estancia and Apache playthrough because it came out on the same day as the map. And there were so few mods available, it was sort of, okay, I'll use the harvester. I think there was a Deutz 6.61 tractor. Totally unrealistic, I believe, for Estancia and Apache, but it wasn't an in-game tractor. Yeah, it was a chance to showcase a mod, so I did. Okay, let's try and get this right by looking straight back and then looking in from the side. Stand that out. Drop it. Yay. Should I leave this over here now? Yeah, why not? Oh, let's run the bags over. Knock all the seed out, why don't we? So yes, this hook is the hook lift is very heavy, or at least the bags are, for this tractor, which is why I needed the super huge weight on the front. Just to keep the tractor under control. Okay, so that's the weight done. Okay, 5 o'clock in the evening. We'll make sure we're not creating fields. And we'll go plant field 4, or we'll go in. Turn in the lime on field 4. Yes, the pallet bag, or those big bags hold 2,000 litres rather than 1,000 that the pallets run. And I kind of felt, since it's a fair trek over to the store and I only have the one tractor and I don't have a flatbed trailer or anything like that to haul it on, it was probably going to be easier for me to bring back a bag with 2,000 litres per trip rather than a bag with, a pallet with 1,000. Not that the cedar's that big. But in all likelihood, had the store been where it used to be on Farm Sim 17, basically if we pull up the map, this used to be where the store is. The store was, and this is the farm. As it is now, the store's way over here, so it's a whole heck of a drive all the way down here to get to the store. That was just up the street. So it wasn't too much of a hassle running up to the store and back. But this iteration, the store, the old store closed and got replaced by a gas station. And the new store is a rather modern affair and is on the outskirts of town. Kind of like some grocery stores like to do it. And I kind of like how they've done it, because I mean, for the majority of this map, this is an oldie worldy village. The farm is very old building style. There's ads painted on the side of the buildings like they used to back in the 50s and 60s. Rather than billboards on the sides of buildings. And then to have a brand new dealer coming into town for farm equipment. Obviously they're gonna have all glass, aluminum framed or steel framed building. And it's really not outside the realms of reality. It's what happens. And yes, I mean, because the farm is embedded in the town. You go behind a building and, oh look, there's a field we can grow stuff on. Or that someone's growing stuff on, we just don't own it yet. Whereas there, is it the Valley, the old farm? That was, while the buildings were of similar style for a lot of the case, that was a big farm on the outskirts of town. What I mean is, let's do a quick jump. I mean, yeah, while the village is 1970s, This sort of thing was very common 1950s, 1960s. You would paint your ad on the side of the building rather than put up a billboard to stick something on the side of the building. Same there. So that's what I'm getting at. That's very, very old style. I mean, these houses aren't 1970s houses. They were built way back when, before probably electricity was around. So, you know, and it's almost like the town has resisted advancement. You've got the power lines, you've got the telephone lines that have been added, but and they're completely different to the architecture of the town itself. The town has been around for a long time. But to come into Farm Sim 19 and discover, well, yeah, the modern world is encroaching on it. It's not as frozen in time as maybe the residents feel it should be. The BGA closed down. It's been replaced by a new, bigger BGA on the outskirts of town. Much more modern affair than the old one was. But the area that the old BGA was is now a new sell point. But it's all very clever design. It has enough feel to say, yeah, this is Old Stream Farm, or the Old Stream Farm. But the farm might be old, the village might be old, but the modern world's coming. You can't stand in the way of progress. Oh, it doesn't like this hill. Whereas Mercury Farm, it's another small farm, although it has the... what's the word for it? You have the ability to make the farm expand with you. So over time you can buy bigger equipment, you can buy more fields. But you can take down hedges and rearrange the fields so that you can justify having big equipment. This farm you can't do that. I think the first time I played this farm was the time I had. The first time I played this farm was with the Fendt theme. Second time I played with a New Holland theme. And the biggest tractor I had on that particular playthrough was the T7. And I wasn't using big equipment, it's just that some of the fields out behind the buildings in the village are quite steep. And you go up to 4 meter equipment. And remember, in Farm Sim 17 I used the realistic fuel usage mod, which meant that you had to, your tractor had to have the capabilities of the equipment requirement, and you had to have horsepower spare to move the tractor, and you had to have horsepower spare to overcome gravity on a hill like this. So, this... What are we running at the moment? Let's have a look. Subsoilers. Point at the subsoilers, somebody. There. So this is the Lamkin Dolomite 3 meter and requires 100 horsepower. The 4 meter requires 150 horsepower. This tractor could not haul it. It's 130 horsepower. Now some of that has been included in the base game now, but back in Farm Sim 17, that wasn't an issue. But with a realistic fuel mod, I need 100 horsepower to haul this plough through the ground. But I probably need another 15 for the tractor itself, and then I may need another 40 for the hill in some points, at which point I'm going to need a 180 horsepower tractor to pull 3 metre plough. Because of the gradients on this particular map. Now, on other maps, not an issue, because the maps are fairly flat, so the only thing you had to worry about was the weight of your tractor and the power demand of the piece of equipment you were hauling. But yeah, I ended up, I had the T7 just so I could haul small equipment up some of the hills on this map. Now the effect is not as pronounced in, obviously we don't have the realistic fuel mod, but I think Farm Sim 19 has incorporated some factor of that in the game, but it's not nearly as severe as the realistic fuel mod imposed on you in 17. And I'm not complaining about that. That made it a little bit more interesting. You had to plan things a little bit more carefully. It's why with Lawfolds I'm running a 380 horsepower class and have been since I started that playthrough. It was the first tractor I got after selling all the farm equipment. And the reason was because some of the hills on that farm are quite steep. But also because I wanted to run equipment that needed 250 horsepower. How are we doing here? Actually, not too bad. But you can definitely hear this tractor's getting its work out for this job. As I said at the beginning, I want a bigger tractor. I kind of like to get into poplars and use the Anderson Biobaler. And that's going to need 200 horsepower, so we're going to need probably a 250 horsepower tractor as our second. That will mean we can go to sort of 4 metre subsoilers, possibly look at some larger seeders, but not significantly larger. And I'm probably still going to have to keep the 3 metre stuff and this tractor to work some of these fields because they don't justify a big equipment. Come on.